With regard to the Republic of Texas, you've said that there are people that are involved in it. It's not just merely like a movement or a group. It's actually much more than that.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is, and it's like the people getting together. It's
Okay.
The Republic of Texas is actually the people. It's not. It's the people, the land, and everything we have. You know, there's not much state land in Texas. Did you know that?
No, but you're going to tell me.
There's not much state land in Texas. We have some parks, we have some national forest, and we have some of that, but not very much. A lot of the other states around us have huge sections that belong to the state or federal government, and those are controlled by state and federal governments. Texas is almost all privately owned, with the exception of what they set aside so that we could all look at it and say, well, this needs to be set aside so all Texians can enjoy this.
So how do you, where do you find this? Because the private ownership of land, and I'm going to go back to my time in the Middle East. When I was in the Middle East, in Jordan, I talked with Palestinians, and the issue there was kind of like the Palestinian versus the Israeli government, the Israeli people. And you would have Palestinians who said they were kicked off of their land, and they had their land deeds from what, I don't know if it was a land deed or what it was, but to show that this was their land and that they were illegally kicked out, forced out of the land, and now this has become part of the state of Israel. And they would not accept any type of payment because they wanted to have this living record to say, this is what the state of Israel has done to us. That's that's my reference point for what you're talking about here.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to see if I can process that.
Okay.
In the United States, all the land was ceded to the United States. All those land patents and titles and everything that belongs to the land, actually attached to the land, is kept in Quantico, Virginia.
Right.
All of the land patents and titles are in Texas, so we handle all of our own land stuff. The land office, that general land office, was actually founded by the Republic of Texas, and it's the Republic of Texas still stands today. You know that red, white, and blue flag that flies over Texas? You know that's a Republic of Texas flag? It is a Republic of Texas flag. They adopted it for the state of Texas. That was the Admiralty flag for the Republic of Texas. And if you go and read see where that flag came from, it'll tell you that it is the Republic of Texas flag. Now there are other flags. That same flag with a gold star is the custom flag. Later on, and I can't remember what year it was, 2010 I think was when we came up with a peace flag for the Republic of Texas. It's the blue flag with the gold star in the middle. Did you know that there's a peace flag for the United States? Nobody ever told you that. Everybody thinks the red, white, and blue stars and stripes is the flag for the United States, and that's our flag. That's not the peace flag. I told a retired Marine colonel that there was such a thing as a peace flag. He said, I never heard of it. I've been retired I was in the military and spent 20 some odd years in the military, and I never heard of that. I'm not surprised, because they don't want you to know those things. They don't want you to know that flag that flies over America today is a war flag. Do you know we've been at war since 18, let me see, I have to think of the year, 1819 I think it is. Whenever Lincoln was president, we've been under war since Lincoln. When was it?
1860s when he was president.
1860, yeah. So we've been at war since 1860, and we've been under that flag since 1860, and we don't fly a war flag during peacetime. So what does that tell you? It's right there in front of all of us, and we never had enough sense to look at it and actually know the difference.
Well, I've never even heard of a peace flag, honestly.
Okay, so well, I hope
Stars and Stripes forever, red, white, and blue. Yep. That's all you hear about.
Yep, and that's the war flag.
So when you've talked about the land, and maybe I'm misspeaking here, but is it like the Bureau of Land Management? Is that what it would be called?
Yeah, ours is called the General Land Office.
So the General Land Office that's down in Austin, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
That is holding the title to the land for just the state of Texas or the entire Republic of Texas, including areas like Wyoming and New Mexico?
I think it's for the entire footprint of the Republic of Texas, all the way up to Wyoming and everywhere else. All those land patents and titles were in Austin in the beginning. For 9 years they were there because that's where they started. Now when the United States broke off parts of Texas and gave it to the other states, I don't know how they did that, but I'm not too sure that all those land patents and titles aren't still in Austin.
Okay.
They should be.
So distinguish then, because again, a couple of years ago, the Texas movement was gaining some popularity, and Daniel Miller was part of that, as far as I understand. Distinguish between the Texas movement and the Republic of Texas.
The way I understand it is the Texas movement, the Texas nationalist movement, charges dues or fee to be part of their group every month. So you pay a due to be part of that. And the Texas movement came from wanting the misunderstanding that Texas should secede, and that's because somebody didn't do their research and somebody doesn't know what they're talking about. I met with Representative Biederman in Kerrville. No, I'm sorry, Fredericksburg. I met with him in Fredericksburg. John Jarnicki and I did. When this all came up, they were trying to get it on the ballot so that Texas could secede. And we met with him, and I told him, I don't know how many times, Texas can't secede. And he didn't want to listen to that. All he wanted to say was, this is the way we're going to do it. And I tried to explain to him, you try that, somebody's going to pull your chain, yank you back, because that's not going to happen. You're going to make a fool of yourself when you go out there and tell somebody you want to secede, because you got people like me that are going to tell you that can't happen.
Can't happen.
We have our land patents and titles in Austin, and so you don't have to secede. You can't secede. So if you want to be a fool, go ahead and do it. But he didn't want to listen. Talking to a politician is, I might as well be talking to a tree somewhere. I could probably get more out of the tree than I did him. He didn't want to listen, and I'm going to call his name. It's Biederman. Representative Biederman.
Yeah, no, I've met him, and actually I liked him. I found him a very personable man, very reasonable and everything, to the best that I understood anyway. But everything that you're saying right now is completely brand new to me.
Well, what my take on it was, he's a politician. And he's just like every other politician. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They want to tell you what they're going to do. Did you find that to be the case? I mean, I
didn't get to talk with him in depth. I mean, I've testified in front of him on one committee. I've met him. I wanted to see what the Texas thing was about, because my understanding, it was a proposal to have a study with regard to Texas seceding. Not that they were doing that, but it was just a study to see what would be the ramifications. I mean, people were asking, like, well, what happens to my Social Security? If we secede, do I still get Social Security? And he was asking questions like that. So it was something that intrigued me at the time, because I thought people much smarter than I am are talking about this stuff. So I want to hear and see what I can learn from it. Just like today.
Well, I've had that question asked of me, what about my Social Security? Well, who's the contract with? Everything we do nowadays, everything is by contract.
By contract, right.
Everything is by contract. So when they take money out of your check, who do you contract with? Well, you contract with the federal government, don't you? So
willingly or unwillingly sometimes.
That's right. It's by force sometimes. But it doesn't make any difference whether you're living in Texas or whether you're living in Mexico or whether you go to Costa Rica or wherever you live. When you have that contract and you're drawing Social Security, that's going to come. They have no alternative but to pay it. They're in the contract. That's one of the good things about contracts. You and I can contract, or we together can contract someone else, and the United States government can't interfere in that. They cannot. It's our contract. And that's what I was saying a while ago about having if things get bad and the excrement hits the air rotation device. And I have chickens and you're hungry, we can contract. Okay, what are you going to give me for my chicken? Well, I don't know. I don't have anything but a bottle of whiskey, but I'm tired of drinking whiskey. But I'm ready to eat. So we can contract that. We call that barter, but it's still contracting, is it not? Same thing.
Well, you have a contract with somebody, another like-minded individual, or Texian, and the contract is not fulfilled by one party, what is your recourse?
Oh, well, I guess it needs to be spelled out in the contract what you're going to do. What are the obligations of the contract? That's one of the things that a treaty is a contract. And
Right.
that's one of the things about a treaty, and one of the things I like about the treaty, one of the things I love about the treaty with England, the Queen says, as long as there's an England, there'll be a Republic of Texas. So, guess what? There's still a Republic of Texas because there's an England. And so, we have that treaty. And just because a treaty gets old, doesn't mean it goes away. We're living under treaties now that were written in the 12th and 14th and 15th century. And so, and they're still binding. And so they still stand. Now, you can get rid of a treaty with a war, I guess, and or both parties come together and say, you know, we don't want to have this treaty anymore. Let's abrogate it. Let's do away with it, and we'll quit on amicable terms or whatever else. But the Republic of Texas has treaties with Spain and Mexico and France and Netherlands and a lot of Indian tribes and England. And, you know, all those treaties still stand. All we have to do is go back and say we want to make sure you understand our treaty.
So what stops somebody else from proclaiming themselves to be the Republic of Texas?
Well, anybody can do that, I suppose, but actually, I don't know where it is that there has to be a line going back, like a lineage. If I was to claim an inheritance, I'd have to have some sort of a
Documentation
of
that,
my
right.
lineage that I went back, and the Republic of Texas can do that. We go back through Ed Branham, Coolidge Curtis, Robert Taylor.
I guess the question
Some of the
would be,
old timers,
yeah.
we go back, we have all of that, and we come up to 2007 when we got to a place where the people, actually all the people, got together and demanded that the government have an election and we elect our officers. And that's where that all started. And ever since that 2007, we've had an election. We've had people in office filling those positions ever since 2007.
I guess that maybe the question could be phrased a little bit differently. What makes it that the people that did this were the heir apparents, so to speak, of the Republic of Texas?
Well, most of them were Texians. They were all born and raised in Texas. And that's one of the things that you can't get away from. I think it was Will Rogers said, never ask a man where he's from, because if he's from Texas, he'll tell you, but if he's not, don't embarrass him. But it doesn't make any difference where you're from if you were born in Pennsylvania.
Right.
And I can never make you anything. That's your heritage. That's where you were born. You're a Pennsylvanian, right? Always going to be a Pennsylvanian until
Right.
you die.
Right.
Well, that's the way it is with Texas and Texians. We were born here, and that's what we're going to be when we die. If we were born in Mexico, we'd be Mexicans. And
So I guess what I hear you saying then is that if you're born in Texas, or like people that say I'm seventh generation Texan, but they don't say Texian, they say Texan.
Texan, yeah.
They would also be considered a Texian.
A lot of them would. And now, there's a lot of people that live here that might have been born here that don't necessarily subscribe to this line of thinking. Some people are happy being slaves. Some people are happy being oppressed. Some people are happy just having the government take care of them. Other people are not that way. Other people they're born free and they want to live free, and it doesn't matter what it takes. I broke horses on the side. I was a plumbing contractor for years, but I broke horses on the side because I had cows, and I did that kind of thing. Some horses you can break easy, and I use the term break. It's actually you have to get them gentled down so you can handle them. Some horses, and I've had some like that. I know of two that I can think of right now that you absolutely could not handle them. You were never going to gentle them. You were never going to ride them. They were never going to be anything more than just a horse in the pasture. That's all they were going to be, because they would not yield to what you were doing. And that's kind of the way some Texians are. They're not going to yield to the oppression. They want to be free. They're going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
They won't ever change. But there's a lot of people that don't mind being that way. They don't mind being told what to do.
Yeah. So with regard to people that are not born in Texas, in the Republic of Texas, how do they become a Texian if they wanted to?
You have to be on the land. It used to be for a period of 6 months. I think it's a period of 1 year now. You have to be here 1 year before you can even fill out the paperwork. But you take a piece of paper and you fill out the application to become a Texian, and then you can be a Texian. Now, if you come from Pennsylvania, for instance, you have to be here for a period of 3 years to be able to fill out that piece of paper. And you can fill it out, but you got to say that you've been here for 3 years, and then you can take the oath and be a Texian. If you come from a foreign country, it's a period of 5 years, and so it's a lot longer if you come from a foreign country like Mexico or Venezuela or wherever. It just takes a little bit longer, but we had to do that. We just did that on this last election. We had these amendments voted on and approved. Up until then, it was 6 months. But the problem was that we could have people coming in here from all over the world, join up the Republic of Texas after they've been here 6 months, and come in and take over and do everything else. They could actually disband the Republic of Texas or whatever they wanted to do, or take over and run the government. And that we needed some safeguards against that. So that's why the amendments were voted on this last election, so that we had a little bit of control over that.
Mm-hmm. So I think the whole thing that I'm questioning still in my mind is, how does this work? Because you're a Texian living in the state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically under two jurisdictions at the same time.
Yeah.
And in theory, as I understand it, a Texians could always revert back to the Republic of Texas jurisdiction and basically tell the state, you have no jurisdiction.
And we have that done in certain places. There's a court case that we did years ago that we sent off to I think it was the World Court of The Hague, and they said they had no jurisdiction. It's a case 2005001 or something like that, 2995.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I got a note here somewhere for that. Anyway, they don't have. Oh, it's case number 95-1002. It's the Texas Supreme Court, and they stated that they don't have any jurisdiction because they can only hear cases from. This was from The Hague. They can only hear cases of corporations. And since the Republic of Texas is not a corporation, they have no jurisdiction. Texas is a sovereign nation, a standalone sovereign nation, and they have no jurisdiction. So until we get to, and every court has its jurisdiction. You couldn't take one of our cases from Texas and go to Louisiana and say, I want this case heard over here in Louisiana. Why not? Well, because that's Texas business.
Yeah, that's Texas business.
That's
You're your own nation.
Right. Well, even then, it's a different jurisdiction because it's a different state.
Right.
If we're in the state business, but Texas is the Republic of Texas being a nation. The state of Texas, nor The Hague, nor anybody else has jurisdiction because only nations can hear nations' problems. They can't hear corporations. Texas the Republic of Texas is not a corporation, so they have no jurisdiction, which makes us kind of unique in that aspect. So we stand on our own, and I'm not too sure that Texas, the Republic of Texas, is not the last, or one of the last republics on the face of the earth. There's not any. Everybody else is corporations.
So can a person be a member of both in a sense and invoke whichever one they want to at that time?
Well, we've had that discussion, and a lot of people in the Republic of Texas feel very strongly about voting in their local and national elections,
Mm-hmm.
state and local and national.
Right.
And we didn't prohibit that, but I personally have never done that. Whenever I became a Texian and I understood what it was to be a Texian voting in the Republic of Texas, I've never voted anywhere else. In fact, I got a jury summons. I went to my county clerk and I told him, I've got this jury summons and I'm more than happy to come down here and serve on your jury, but I just want to know how you got this, how you got my name. And they said, well, we probably got it off your driver's license. I said, well, you didn't get it off my driver's license because I don't have
10
one.
years ago.
And they said, well, we probably got it off your voter registration card. And I said, well, you didn't get it there either because I don't vote in this nation's elections. I vote in another nation. And she got a kind of an odd look on her face and said, I'll be right back. And she was gone a few minutes and came back and said, Mr. Ford, we're going to take you off of our roll. You can't serve on our juries because you don't have a voter registration, you don't have a driver's license, and you don't vote in our nation. I said, okay, that's fine. I wanted to make sure before I sat on your jury because I didn't want to cause any trouble. So there is a certain amount of authority that goes with that, but you have to know which side you're going to stand on. And personally, I stand on the side of the Republic of Texas, I always have, and that's where I want to be. But some of our folks felt strongly about voting in the national elections, and so I don't know. The way the world is going right now, it's hard to tell which way things are going to go. It's hard to tell what our economy is going to do, our nation's going to do. I just don't know. So I want to hold up Texas as long as I can.
So when you contract as a plumber with somebody and you're going to contract with them and do work for them, how do they pay you?
Well, everybody paid me with Federal Reserve notes. I say everybody, not everybody did, but I had customers that didn't have the money and they had silver and they wanted to know if they could pay in silver, and I said sure. I had my phone. I'd look it up on the phone, say here's what the spot price is, here's the conversion rate. You got that much? Yeah, oh yeah, we got that much, and so we do that. Incidentally, we as in the Republic, that's the only way we deal. Our Secretary of State charges a fee for recording documents, and the only thing he charges is precious metals like silver or gold or copper or whatever his rate is. That's what he charges, and that's what we pay, and that's how we pay, and so we pay that way. So it's a currency that we use. It's not widely accepted yet, although it could be. Have you ever heard of a depository in Austin that the University of Texas has? You ever hear of that?
No.
Ever heard of that? Okay, well, they called back and got all our gold back, and it's all in Texas now. It's in a depository in Austin. But we met with a very influential fellow in Houston named Lee Cook, and Mr. Cook was going to help us set up a depository so that we could put all of our precious metals in the depository. He would make the conversion for us, give us a card, and that card would work anywhere. You could go to Walmart and buy a Big Chief tablet if you like, or you could buy a car if you wanted. If you had enough silver in there to cover it, they would make the transaction. The Lakota Indians already have that set up, and we never did do business with them because they're in Montana, I believe. And but they already have that set up. So the facilities are there, so we can trade in precious metals. I guess you've heard of gold-backed IRAs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's another way of getting around Federal Reserve notes. So if you have $1 million and you have it in an IRA, the government can go get that. But if you have it in a gold-backed IRA, you have $1 million worth of gold, and somebody holds the gold for you, or you can hold the gold, and they're not going to touch that. It's not theirs, so they can't get it. You protect your assets that way.
Right, right.